Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Laura Canfield Show, the Awaken to Happiness Now Global Series. Thank you so much for being here. And I'm so excited. My good friend Lorraine Cohen is back with us. And it's going to be an interesting conversation. We're going to be talking about the ups and downs of health and healing. And so we were just talking offline a little bit, and maybe that topic will, or that piece of that conversation will come up again, as we're talking now that we're recording. We'll see how that goes. But for those of you who don't know Lorraine, I'll just tell you a little bit about her. Lorraine has been on my show since 2013 when I first started. So that was, I think I read somewhere, Lorraine, that you said you were on 10 shows or 10 seasons.
I think so. Yes, about 10. Nine at the very minimum. Yeah.
Mm-hmm, exactly. I think maybe if you missed one or two, I'm not sure. But Lorraine is an internationally recognized health alchemist, a soul power coach, and cosmic heart healer. For more than 30 years, she has assisted thousands of people worldwide to tear down, transform, and transmute past emotional wounds into wisdom, compassion, and power to create a self-loving, healthy, abundant life in alliance with their soul calling. And in 2015, which is like, really, wow, Lorraine began channeling healing energy directly from God's heart with the support of her multidimensional team. And these powerful transmissions assist restoring and regenerating your body's true state of health, whether you're in physical pain, dealing with an illness or injury, want to energetically clear emotional or mental energy blocks, or wish to accelerate your spiritual awakening. She's also an international best-selling co-author for 2 anthologies, Unwavering Strength, Volume 2, and Embraced by the Divine, The Emerging Woman's Gateway to Power, Passion, and Purpose. And an internationally published feature writer for Bella Mia magazine. And you are going to absolutely love Lorraine. Her warm, uplifting, and engaging presentation style makes her a sought-after public speaker, media guest, and workshop leader, engaging audiences worldwide. And I saw that you're doing much more of the live in-person events as well, aren't you?
I was doing most of them in the Facebook group that I have called Create Your New Health Story Now. And then I was feeling that I wanted to start doing more lives off my timeline. And what was really funny was I started a series called Ups and Downs of Healing. I didn't even have the word health in there. I did not sit down and I think I'll do a series, because that's not how it works. Mm-hmm. I get a soul nudge and it says, go talk about this, or a topic comes up in conversations that I'm having with clients, and I start thinking, I don't know if anybody's talking about this, so I think this would be a good topic. Well, now it's up to Series 5, and I stopped it temporarily knowing that I was coming onto your program because I wanted to save and talk further about some of what I had already talked about. Mm-hmm. And then I'll see if there's going to be a part 6, 7, 8, 9, or 10. I don't know yet, but there was so much great information that came as a result of that. And it felt like it was a very timely topic to address, because a lot of conversations people may be having on different series, I don't know how much they get into these kinds of topics about health and healing. And I feel it's a gap. And I think it's something that more and more people, at least what I'm seeing and hearing, are dealing with more health diagnosis, and I think we need to talk about it.
And I think, even with the ups and downs, even if it's not a physical health challenge, there's emotional challenges and yes. Mental challenges, and spiritual challenges, to be honest. Yes. There's all of that. And there are ups and downs. And you're right. People don't talk about it. People only talk about the up. They don't talk about the down. Yeah. But we do. We experience both. So I'm so glad that you're here to share with us. And, this is, I just want to say to everybody, right now, this is a safe space. So if you are feeling vulnerable at any point, know that you are like held in a safe environment and safe space. There's no judgment. Absolutely not. And so, if there is something that you would like to share, you can. So you can always type a question in the chat, or you can raise your hand. And for those of you who are brave and who are on the phone and know how to, unmute yourself and raise your hand, you can do that too. I still don't know. One of these days.
I learned I learned how to do that.
One of these days, I'm going to go on to somebody's Zoom on my phone just so that I can, experience it, but until then, anyways. So, yes, please feel free to share your comments, your questions, raise your hand and all that wonderful stuff when, as we're going to continue talking, because a lot of the information that comes out in these types of conversations are from your questions, are like, what is up with you kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
Right, Lorraine?
I think that I have gotten so much great feedback so that I could address some of the concerns and some of the things that people are experiencing, because sometimes we think it's just us, and then you find out, wow, I'm going through that too. And I like to open up those kinds of dialogues, because that's where we can begin to give people some of the answers that they might be needing, but don't know where to go for them. I mean, as great as the internet is, they don't always answer some of the kinds of questions that we need.
Absolutely. So I wanted to really, there's, I put on the live page and in the email some of the stuff that we're going to talk about, but I really do. There's so many key pieces that I want to talk about. But
you pick and choose, okay?
Oh, I know. Well, we'll start, from the top, and we'll see what comes up. The two most critical foundational pieces for health, abundance, and soul fulfillment. What are they?
Well, it's not going to be a surprise to you. I continue to feel that our ability to be kind and loving towards ourselves is essential to our capacity to feel wholeness and healing. If we don't love ourselves, then we don't allow for the goodness of life to really come to us. And so that's the first thing. I mean, we can talk more about that, but I just want to name that. The second is the connection that you have with whoever and whatever source, God, Jesus, whatever your name is, because everything, in my opinion, everything that comes to us, it comes from this connection with our own divinity. And it's not something that's outside of us only. It is a part of who we are. It lives in us, through us, around us, and it is a connection that is limitless, and it is a partnership that is truly life-changing when you see that as significant. It's a passion that I have, and I know it's one of my purposes, is helping people to have a stronger connection with their divine self, because that's your inner healer. That is your inner leader. And without that, there are times when we feel lost because we lean on our egos to be able to guide us, and our egos don't have the answers that our soul and our divine does. Our ego has knowledge and a lot of fears, but true wisdom comes from our connection with our own light. So, and if you don't love yourself, and you don't have to be at 100% loving yourself, it's a process, but as you come to love yourself more, then you allow that deeper connection with your own divinity to unfold.
Absolutely. And that is one of my main core pieces too, is helping people to connect with the divine, with their own source and spirit. And I know sometimes for myself, when I kind of feel lost or confused or frustrated, too much, it's like, oh, wait a minute, I'm in my head. So let me just go back to my heart. Let me go back to, that connection with spirit, the connection with my team. It really, I notice it really quickly. It's like, as soon as I start getting that way, it's like, what happened here? So let's just go back. Let's just go back, and so hence, I do tend to do a lot of going back, because as you know, and you hinted, I do tend to push myself a lot, when I'm working, right? I push, I do my work, and, sometimes I need to just regroup and come back. Well, not sometimes, always.
You and I are very similar in that regard, because of the passion that we have for wanting people to have the greatest life possible as we wish for ourselves. And so sometimes we think we're taking care of ourselves, and what we're really not doing is giving ourselves enough integration time, enough rest time. That's something that I have come to see more and more, that the more that I stop and I actually get still to feel what's going on in my body, so many times I have been surprised at the level of exhaustion I feel when I am in motion. And I feel that more and more we are needing to build in periods for that, and be guilt-free about it, because it's part of the continuum of being able to show up in your life.
Oh, absolutely. And, just last week, I guess when it was the full moon, right?
Yep.
Lorraine had gifted me her full moon evening meditation, and
It's actually it's actually, I don't mean to interrupt, but it's a transmission that is just like another layer to the full moon, and I had wanted you to have that.
and it was so beautiful, and I really needed it, because I remember saying to you, I'm so tired. I've been working so much, because I was at that time working really, really hard and long hours, and like on the computer, and like, and I was like, oh, I'm so tired. So I think I'm just going to lie down and rest while I experience it, and it was just beautiful. It's exactly what I needed, right? To that rejuvenation, and that, for filling myself up, right? And giving myself that space and time to allow myself to receive that. So thank you.
Yeah. Well, you are very welcome. And it's so interesting, because people's experiences are so different. I know that you have found this to be true in the energy work that you do. So for some people, they came back and they said, I am feeling so much anger. Of course, I get excited about that. Oh, good. And how long have you been holding that anger in your body? That's why it's coming up. Because the energies that we're working with is not just about having you feel good.
Mm-hmm.
We're working with intelligence, conscious energies that are alive, that meet you where you are, and they know where your buttons are. They know what you need at that given time. What I find is missing for a lot of people is that when those buttons get pushed, they don't know how to navigate it. So what they do is they numb out, or they jump into wanting to feel good, and they don't release anything. It's just, that's my idea of just taking a broom and sweeping it to another place in the in the corner. So when these things come up, they get nervous and they start thinking, oh my God, something's wrong. It might be that you're detoxing. And I'm kind of addressing in this. Jennifer had asked a question. I've been coughing up lime green gunk for 3 weeks, but haven't really felt sick. Is that weird? What is weird these days anymore? I don't know. So I would say you may be detoxing. You may not be having enough water. I know sometimes people feel that they want to just go and check out with the doctor that there's nothing going on, because their ego just needs a little bit of comfort. So it could be a variety of different things. We don't necessarily have to feel sick in order for our bodies to be releasing something. So it's kind of a difficult question to really answer, because I don't know how you might be processing things. I don't know. Laura, do you have a comment with that?
Well, as we always say on all these shows, if you have any concerns, go get it checked out. And it could just be releasing. I mean, you're also in my program, so you're going to be doing a lot of releasing there too every day, when we're working in the program. But if you have concerns, please go get it checked out. And I don't think it's an issue of concern, because you would be feeling all sorts of other different things too if there was something more serious going on. So, but
Yeah.
if you're concerned, please do get it checked out. Okay. I have to say that legally, and
I automatically say that, because there are so many ways that our minds can get involved and start creating worst case scenarios. And just going and getting it checked out, just to have the peace of mind, I think is a self-loving and wise thing to do.
Absolutely. And one of my dear friends always said, if you have any worries, get it checked out, because then at least that thing will be out of your head, you know? You won't be worried about that anymore. Then you can focus, and then sometimes that alone is such a release and a relief that then what's really underneath can show up. That then you're really willing to look at what's underneath. Oh my goodness, Mia, hold on one second.
This is to show you that the show is indeed live, and life's unpredictability comes up at any time, and we just roll with what happens.
He's playing with this old Coke bottle, and usually he plays with something quiet, but it's like, oh, okay, it'll be okay. So, yeah, definitely live. Get it checked out if you're concerned, okay? But allow yourself know that sometimes you are releasing, and it may not be anything serious. It may not be at all, right? But get it checked. I try not to go to the worst possible. I mean, I'm bad. I don't go to the doctor until I have to. It's like it'll pass. I just don't go until I have to. But all right. So Julie has had her hand raised for a while. Do you want to take a question from Julie?
I think maybe today we'll just kind of roll with whatever's flowing, but there are definitely points I want to get to.
Yeah, awesome. So let's take Julie's question, and then we'll go back to some more of the stuff that we want to cover for sure.
Yeah.
Julie, go ahead, and I'm gonna unmute you. One sec.
Okay.
There you go. You unmuted yourself, I think. Go ahead.
Hi.
Hey.
Hi there.
Hi, how are you guys?
And we're good. How are you?
I'm good. I've just
Are you?
Well, not really, but I'm faking it. You
Don't,
fake it till you make it sometimes.
Don't go into the story. That's all I'm gonna say.
I'm not going to. I'm
That's all
not
I'm gonna
say.
say.
Yeah. It does. Can you just possibly help me just get through whatever I'm going through without explaining it?
That's a bit too vague.
Like a healing or something. Or
Well,
actually a magician.
You are going to have to give us a little more information, because not necessarily asking you to tell the story, but you've not described any symptoms to me. You've not described any. I have nothing to respond to.
But hold on, just 1 second before you go ahead, Julie. Lorraine, do you want to look at where your mic is? Because sometimes there's like scratchiness or feedback.
I'm just plugged in like you are, so
okay.
The only other option that I have is for me to get another earpiece. Do you want me to do that?
I mean, no, it's not that bad, but just sometimes it's a little scratchy-ish.
Yeah, I hear it.
Okay.
I think maybe I won't move.
All right, go ahead. Okay, Julie, go ahead.
Okay. Instead of going into any story and going into all the many things that I need help with right now, I'm only going to go into one.
Perfect.
How about we go with money? I need some money to move. I need to find a place to move. I need the money for the deposits and everything, and to buy groceries and all that stuff, And
the one thing that I just want to stop you with, because I really want to stay on topic, that we're talking about the ups and downs of health and healing. So if this is a connection to health and healing, I would like for you to really stay with us on that.
Okay. All right. Well, can we heal? I am super depressed about everything and sad. And is
that related to money?
Yes.
Okay.
But it happens, like I could be happy for like a week or 2 weeks, and then all of a sudden it'll hit me. It's like I feel like I'm bipolar or something, or schizophrenic, and because it just knocks me down.
Yeah. Well, I would like to just share a little bit of my story that may be helpful for you in response to that. Okay.
Okay.
And I appreciate you're taking me on a little bit of a tour while you're walking.
Sorry. I have to walk so that I'm trying to stay active so that I don't cry.
So you're trying to hold something back. So I want to encourage you to not hold anything back, because your tears may be part of the release that you need in order to move through what you're experiencing right now. And I want you to know that I think that our tears are the most incredible way that we release liquid through our eyes, through our body. I think there's a brilliance to the fact that we have been created in this way so that we release. To me, I think it frees the soul. And I have the utmost respect for people who don't apologize for their tears, because it's how we heal and it's part of our humanity. So I honor your tears and I welcome them. And I know it's your comfort or discomfort with that. So depression, and I'm gonna, say that the money piece is, I think, one of the biggest triggers for people in terms of feeling safety or feeling trust. And because we're living in an environment where money is the source of exchange, it has a tremendous amount of impact on the way in which we perceive our lives. What I started working with was really looking at, number one, my beliefs about money. And that might be something that you've already done. I want to invite you to consider that money is a consciousness, that it is alive, that you could actually have a conversation with money. I'm even going to recommend a book that has a totally different approach than anything that you might find, and it's called Love Money, Money Loves You by Sarah McCrum. It's quite a delightful little book that was really a channeled conversation. She sat down one day with money, and it's a back and forth way of looking at money from another perspective. What I've really found in my own journey, because I'm a single person and have had ups and downs in my own life and in my own business, I've certainly come to places where I've been scared and wondered how I'm going to pay the next bill. And then I have this cascade of abundance that comes in, things get taken care of, and there are ebbs and flows at times that we need to navigate. And sometimes with people, we don't always have a lot of reserves, so it puts the pressure even more. And I found myself coming back to looking at my trust. How much do I really trust in my connection with the divine? Because I believe that all of our good comes from source and is delivered to us through people. And I've had so much abundance in my life come in a variety of different ways. And I remember I was sitting down one day yelling at God and saying, I don't get this. Of course, I was cursing. And I said, you have shown up for me in every possible way, even anticipating needs I never knew that I had. And what is going on with this that I don't feel taken care of by you? And I really was enraged about that. I felt like I was being punished. I was doing everything right, but I felt like I was being punished. And also at that time, all sources of income had completely dried up. So I was sitting there going, what next? And I had to surrender all that. I absolutely had to surrender. It wasn't an easy thing. I mean, I could talk about surrender and I could tell you what it's like and how you do it, but actually embodying it and living it was not there. And I realized I don't know how to surrender, and I don't really know what trust is. I really don't. I have an idea of what it is, but this really stretched me to my limits because some part of me wanted to release this fear about money once and for all, because it was exhausting having to be in that place of wonder. And I had to walk into that place totally not knowing, and every day I breathed into it. And I listened to every intuitive nudge I got and had to let go of the outcome and what would happen next. Because as long as I had any attachment to the outcome, I'm not suggesting to you this was the easiest thing, but I'm going to tell you something. I've been watching for the last 4 months things coming from all directions, the more that I have worked from this place. I don't do anything that I don't feel guided to do. Now I realize that you're at a place of work and I have a different experience. But the connection that you have with your spirit and with source is anywhere. It's not tied to that. So one of the things that I asked was, please teach me in the most gentlest of ways how to trust the flow of my being and the flow of life that is wanted for me, because the flow is always there. It's us who steps out of the flow unconsciously by the judgments, by the attachments that we have, which is so automatic. If I get a nudge to do this, it must mean that, and if it doesn't go that way, then how can I trust myself? But what I have seen more times than not is something coming that makes absolutely no sense, that is connected to an action that I took that I thought was a failure or a waste of time. And I stand back in awe, completely blown away by just watching that happen. So I think for you that this is a time for you to really work on your trust with the flow of your spirit and the connection that you have with the divine, because there's a part of you that I think is desperate to know that. I don't know if that's helpful for you. I would love to hear your thoughts about what I just shared.
I think it was definitely helpful. I think it's exactly what's needed. I mean, I've always had a connection with the divine, but when things happen in your life, sometimes you forget about the divine. Do you know what I'm saying?
I do.
You're so focused on what's going on in your life, that you forget that.
So those are really beautiful times, because what people often forget to do is to look at what are the messages that are coming to me right now? What themes are running in my life right now? Because it may be that on some level, you know deep down that what you're doing, the work that you're doing, is not where you're meant to be, and that maybe you're there because you're afraid. I'm just using an example. And so there is a part that is kind of cutting off different avenues so that you look at being true to your heart and true to your soul. I'll tell you another very quick story. One of my...
Okay, Lorraine, can I just interrupt for a quick second? So before you tell us your story, and because I really want to hear it, maybe it would be best for you to switch your earphones.
That's it. Okay, I will be right back, and hopefully this will make a difference. All right. And I'm sure you have something to say, Laura, and I'll be right back.
I always have something to say, but at this point, I was like, oh my God, that was so beautiful. And thank you so much for sharing that, Lorraine, because it was so on point. And it is about, it was about being, like we talked a little bit about on the healing call, it's like you're in your head, you're in the emotional body, come back to your core, your essence, that connection with your divine. And when you do that, it's like when you truly do that, right? It's like all the other stuff, it becomes so minimal. It's, it really does. But, and not to minimize everything that you're going through or anything else that anybody else is going through, but it kind of gives you more of that space and then that strength, and it gives you new information, sometimes new inspired, information for the next step, right? And that trusting, knowing that you are always in the flow and that you're always connected to the divine, and the divine has your back and is giving you exactly what sometimes you need to take you to the next level. I hate the word level, but to the next phase, right?
I know what you mean, like the next step, whatever.
Exactly. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So yes, of course, Lorraine, I talked about stuff, a little bit. They filled in. I'm a filler.
This is better.
Yes.
All of my headsets are falling apart. And that was great, the last part of what I caught. Okay, so the other quick story I wanted to tell you was one of my closest friends, who is absolutely brilliant, and for the last 3.5 months, again, self-employed, with a husband, so not in a dire situation. And whatever she tried to do in order to open up some business nothing happened. Even where there was money that was supposed to come to her, had the most ridiculous and crazy delays that made no sense. And so one of the things that I know Alara and I work with is the code journey. We work with the flow of the codes. I work with them every single day. That's another foundational piece with listening to my guidance and working with the codes. I've gotten to a point where I'm in such a natural flow with the codes, with the book, The Code Journey by Jesse on
I think Julie has the book.
I do.
Okay.
I have two of them.
Okay, good. All right. So the interesting thing about when you're working with the codes is the fact that sometimes when we're reading something, we don't understand the deeper meanings of what's actually being said. And so, so my friend had her personal report done, as I do, and as Alara does. And it said for January, you are gold. Everything you touch will be gold. And of course, she had just come off of about 6 weeks of things very slow, and she got so excited, and nothing that she expected, according to what she read, happened. And it went into February, it went into March, and in this interim, what she was doing was she was working with revamping some of the material that she was working with. She also had a real kind of come to the truth about the relationship with her family, which was full of so much trauma and drama. And that became very apparent that the success was not a monetary success that she was being told about. It was the success of coming into greater alignment with her spirit. And her family was one of the places that she had so much stuff stuck. And of course, there were a couple of other things that that she had to take a look at. And while it was uncomfortable for months, I will tell you that we got to a point one day in the conversation, I said, I really feel you're on the other side of this. And we had a very profound spiritual experience several days ago with just a procession of those from the higher realms. It was quite profound. It was really epic. And within 24 hours, she received the check that had been delayed for 4.5 months, landed in her account. About 24 hours after that, she got an unexpected $1,000. So what I'm saying is that when we hit these points where it looks as if all the avenues around us are being cut off, and it can certainly, it certainly impacts on our mental health, the stress, the fears, the anxiety. Those are times in particular we need to anchor more into our connection with the divine, and also to look at what are the messages I'm trying to tell myself. Again, I say, what are the themes that are playing out, because we are in the nitty-gritty places of our blind spots right now, because we are going deeper and deeper into our stuff. This whole idea of I thought I was done with that is there are some layers that have some complexities to them. And when they come up, they are not always the most comfortable to deal with. And it's important to know when you're too close to your stuff so that you can get some help from somebody who has walked that terrain and knows how to help you walk and find your own power. So what may be possible for you right now, Julie, is this is a time for you to learn what faith and trust means at a deeper level as it relates to money.
Absolutely.
And while it feels really sucky right now, I think that this is an important turning point for you. I watched what's happened for me, and I can tell you, I'm not 100% there. But as I came into this month, and I'm just watching some of the things that's happening without any attachment, I will tell you, there is an ease to it that is not about working hard at all. And I had heard people say that, but now I'm experiencing it. So it's the shifting from concept to embodiment. And it's really cool. And it's not, it's uncomfortable.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely can be uncomfortable. And but yeah. How are you doing, Julie?
Oh, hold on. I'm doing good.
Better?
Yeah, I feel way better. Yeah, way better. Yeah.
You're
I
in
had
the
to go
car
off
now.
camera. I'm in the car. Yeah, I got to go get my son. That's why I had to go off camera.
Mhm.
I would like to ask you a question.
Yes.
What was the most helpful, or what was helpful for you? Because my intention was not to shift you out of anything, but to
Yeah.
invite you to step beyond the smallness of that pain. So what helped you the most? I would love to know.
I would say that all of it helped, but the most was what you said at the very end, that this is something I need to do, to go through, to get through the shift of what is needed for me to, you know, produce in my life, to flourish in my life, to for my butterfly wings to open up. You know?
Yes. And
So,
what I would also add is I like to think that the divine and my soul loves me so much that it is relentless in continuing to come back and offer me opportunity after opportunity to set myself free.
being free would be great.
Well, there's all different forms of freedom, isn't there?
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I'm talking about free from the mind stuff.
Well, one thing I would offer you is call on Archangel Metatron and ask him to help you to work with the mental chatter. And I'm sure he will answer your call. What that will look like, I don't know. But I always say, just hang in with me until I'm able to spread my butterfly wings with that.
Sounds good.
All right. Awesome,
Thank
Julie.
you for
Thank
joining.
you.
Thank you.
Awesome. I'm gonna lower her hand. So I was just gonna show everybody, I don't know if you can see it. Anyway, this is the code journey. I know it doesn't always show properly on the screen, but that code journey by Jesse on Nicole's George. Big.
Yeah, it's great. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. All right.
You know, I
Awesome.
have to mention that.
Yes. Yes, yes, yes. All right. So we're going to take some more questions in just a bit, but I just want to talk a little bit about some of the stuff. So I wanted to talk about as well as spiritual bypassing, why
Yeah.
you have to feel it to heal it.
Oh, I feel very strongly about spiritual bypassing. I actually looked up the definition that was in the 1980s or 90s, and of course I don't have it handy, so I can't tell you. But I'm going to express it
I was going to
from
ask you,
my,
what is spiritual bypassing?
well,
Right?
all right, here is my definition. I love Abraham. I really do. And I love a lot of messages that are out there that are very uplifting, and they're encouraging you to just sing and dance and do all of these things. And here's the thing. We have to be able to feel everything. We're here to feel everything. I was listening to Brene Brown, once again, who I absolutely love. And one of the things that she says is that you cannot shut off the dark feelings without shutting them all off. We're not wired like that. We can't selectively decide these are feelings I like and these are feelings that I don't like. Because for many of us, we are doing a lot of work for the collective, and without the contrast, without hate, you can't know love. Without dark, you don't know light. And we're here to experience the full spectrum of life. The key is that we like feeling good, and we are not comfortable feeling some of those dark emotions, because who in your life really welcomed them, who honored them? I mean, when people cry, you always hear them say, I'm sorry, and feel that it's a sign of weakness. We have so many labels of shutting us down that don't give us permission to show up and be real. And it is in this realness that we really experience a greater freedom to be who we truly are. So spiritual bypassing is this jumping over that just goes straight to feeling good, and you don't need to feel any of that stuff or you're done. And it is a way for people to just use another excuse to get away from the feelings that they're trying to get rid of. There's no getting rid of anything. It's moving through it so that you can transform it and you can transmute it. That's how
Absolutely.
you, and to know how to do that is different now than the way that I did it with clients 20 years ago, where I would show them how to soothe themselves. Now I show them how to feel so that they actually release.
Absolutely. You have to feel it. You have to feel it. You have to acknowledge it. You have to see it before you can even release it. Right.
Yeah.
So absolutely. And, we don't always want to feel those emotions for sure. Absolutely. Because we've been told it's not good. We've been told that they're bad. There's no good or bad. This is what you're feeling, and it's valid and it's real and it's true. But you can get past it, or you can go through it, or you can heal it, like you can move forward with it. But you don't have to stay there. It's the only thing, is what I'm saying. You don't have to stay there, but you do have to see it. You do have to feel it. Absolutely.
So I want to layer something on top of that, because what I find is that when people really don't know how to release something, that they end up trying to sort through it and direct and control it with their mind. You don't release anything from your mind, because what you're releasing is energy. It's all energy. So you have to know how to move the energy and move with the energy in the ways in which things are changing in the world. And the other thing that I would say is that people get stuck there. They end up replaying and revisiting it. You can release something and you can recreate it at the same time. So when that happens, I ask that person, what are you getting from holding on to that? And we have a lot of negative paybacks. And I would like to just share this also very quick story. I'm just getting prompted to tell stories today. So I guess one of my clients in the Netherlands is the kind of person that everybody leans on. And she's an amazing, amazing woman. I absolutely adore her. And I know a lot of people like that who are these go-to people. And when people that they care about are going through difficulties, they tell themselves that they have to hold it together, or they have gotten so good at compartmentalizing it that they can't even reach it anymore. And this is a conversation I started having with her, because it was not something that she actually realized. And so a couple of weeks later, having another conversation with a client who was also that kind of hold it together kind of person. In her mind, she was having a breakdown. It was a Friday night, and it was about 6 o'clock at night, 6 or 7 o'clock at night. I don't work with people at night on a Friday night as going into a weekend, but I had neon bells going off in my head saying, this is somebody that needs help. And she didn't ask for help. She asked me an indirect question, and I know this person well enough to know that she was in trouble. I knew it, I could feel it. And what was happening is that she was experiencing all of this grief, and it scared the crap out of her. It scared the crap out of her because it was so powerful, she never let herself feel it. And that's one of the reasons why we shut things down. When we start to open it up, we get scared. We get terrified of our anger because it's so forceful. We get terrified of our fears because, well, we've probably been dealing with that for a while, but our tears, what if I never stop crying? Am I going to go crazy? How do I handle this? I'm feeling something I never felt before, and it's so powerful. And as I was working with this person, I was working with her for about 90 minutes, and I did some healing work with her. And I was talking to her about what was happening and why it was happening and how good it was, because in the work that we had been done, this is what she had been working towards, breaking down the armor. And she was there, and she didn't know what to do with it. No one ever showed her. No one gave her permission. She was terrified of it because of the intensity of, and she was sitting there and she was crying. And I have to tell you what an honor it was for me to witness her tears. She had never cried in front of anyone. And my soul was so happy for her that she gave herself permission, that she let me know, even indirectly, that she needed help. And of course, what I said to her afterwards was, this is not going to pass in a couple of hours. She wasn't in great shape when she left, but she was better. She was more stabilized. She had some idea about how to move forward. And I said to her, please be careful that you do not go back to old behavior and shut this back down again, because I am telling you, when it starts to bubble up again, if you think this was rough, it's going to come out with a force that is even stronger than this, because you've corked something you already opened.
Wow. Thank you. That was powerful. Absolutely. And, and that's the thing. Sometimes when we are going through changes and transition and moving through different phases, we don't know how to handle it. We don't know how to deal with it.
Yeah.
And we think we do, right? Because we're healers, it's like, I have all the tools, I can do this. But sometimes, we can't, and we need that third person. And I'm saying third because it's us, spirit, and that other person. So we need that third person still to be there for us, because we can't do it ourselves. I mean, I know that for sure. Yes, thank you for that. Wow. All
right. Probably why our conversation is going in this direction again. I didn't look at anything I sent you. I know you and I get together, it always goes in the direction that it needs to go. So even though we have some points, it's kind of, whatever happened is what's meant to flow in that moment. And so I am just feeling that people are going through some very tough emotional and mental times right now. And I hope that our conversation today opens some doors, gives them some comfort or some direction.
Mm-hmm.
And I can definitely see from some of the comments that are coming through that a lot of people's triggers are firing. And yay!
Absolutely.
I know it's not comfortable, but this is important. You want it. You want it. Even though you don't think you want it, you want to move through to the next level that bad. Your soul does. And so it's showing you where you need to look. It's showing you where you may think you're stuck, but I'm going to tell you something that I have found to be true. When we really need to look at something, we will be sitting in it for a bit. Nothing else will open, because that's the priority. It's not always what you may want. That's what happened with my friend. Now, I said to her, now watch what happens. Things are ready to bust open.
I just want to say something to Melissa about something here. She said, why do I hate myself so much to create all this suffering? I don't think you hate yourself and that's why you're creating the suffering. I think it's because you love yourself so much that you're creating the suffering, so that you will step out of it and connect back into who you truly are, connect back in with spirit.
Yes.
It's not hate at all. More. It's love. It's deep love.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
And also part of your purpose and path right now, this is what is before you to move to the next level.
Yeah. And it's this, it's spirit and your higher self and you together, working together, that is bringing up this suffering so that you will go back within, connect to that. I don't think it's hate at all. And
I totally agree.
And what is suffering? Suffering is just that disconnection, that separation from spirit. So to me, anyways, that's what suffering is. When I'm suffering, it's because I'm separate. I'm taking myself away from spirit, from creator, from God, universe. I'm just being in my head the whole time,
What I would add to that is suffering is created from struggle.
Mm-hmm.
Because we don't rest into the experience, we go into battle. That is the most common thing. If you look at so much of the language of what the media uses, or even the way that we talk, I have to fight this, I have to chase that, this is a battle here, I got to beat that, I got to win that war, all that's battle energy. There's no surrender all of that is about creating resistance. And if you think about what resistance can look like, you know, imagine that you have people on either side of a rope and nobody is necessarily moving, and they're pushing and pulling to try to get the other team to let go of the rope. That's what suffering can look like, and we don't necessarily put two and two together. So a good question, I would say, if you feel that you're in suffering, is look at what's going on in your life, look at where your thoughts are. What are you in resistance to? What are you trying to control right now? What are you trying to fight your way through? I will tell you that from my own battles, I had to bring myself to my knees to be in excruciating pain and begging God to kill me before I let go in a way that I thought, oh, I'm surrendering, I'm just going with the flow. But I was still in it to win it.
Yeah. And Nicole's asking, what do you suggest for healthy anger, old suppressed rage, outside of traditional whack, scream it out methods?
I'm just speaking of ups and downs, complex PTSD. Is that what you just read, or was there another one?
That was part of Melissa's.
Oh, because I thought you said Nicole.
Yeah, I just mentioned Nicole now, the different question. So the PTSD, all that stuff was Melissa?
Oh, they both did. Oh, okay. So it's funny because I just did a video on PTSD and how much more common it is than people realize. And so if you think about what PTSD is not just related to the way in which it's been interpreted, where it's a result of a sexual assault or combat or some sort of a catastrophe. It's anything that we are holding on to that has a pain, emotional, and mental charge. Can be post-traumatic. It's anything that we continue to revisit in our mind. It could be through a memory. It's any painful experience that we have had that we have not been able to bring to a place of healing and peace. And so once we begin to realize that, we can begin to work with that. So I'm just looking at the question again, because I know some of your comments, Alara, really contributed to everything that we said. I see there's two questions from Nicole. So you asked me about what do I suggest for healthy anger, old repressed rage. Please excuse me, there's a lot of wonderful questions coming in. And you know, Laura and I, we could talk to you for 3 hours, but maybe I'll just come back and do the ups and downs of health and healing part 2. Right, so well, first, when it comes to healthy anger, what's really important is that you don't make yourself bad or wrong for the fact that you're feeling that. Because I'll tell you, I came into this life with a rage, and I still can go from 0 to 60, but I work with it very differently. So first, I would invite you to just acknowledge that your anger is a cover for something that is deeply painful for you, that you have not been able to perhaps forgive, or maybe it's most likely a lot of times the anger that we hold is towards ourselves for not being enough, for not doing something, for being superhuman, or for a variety of different things. I'm going to give you a very simple exercise that, and please understand, I'm not into Band-Aids, I'm into giving you some real things that can be helpful. And also sometimes when we're dealing with anger, it scares us so much that we're afraid to really go there because of how powerful it is. So this is a practice that a friend of mine told me about, so I can't lay claim to it. She goes into a meditative state and imagines whatever anger or rage that she gets a sense of, and she gathers it, however it is she decides, and she puts it in an old dump truck, a truck big enough to hold whatever it is that she is ready to release. And she sees herself driving it out to the desert, and she puts dynamite under the truck, and she takes a step back and she blows it up. Now, the other thing that I would say to you is that is not necessarily going to take all the anger and rage away, but it can take the edge off that when you might be in an explosive state. What I have found is that there is a way to be healthy with anger is to look at where you are being firm as opposed to being angry, where you're taking things personally, look at where your boundaries are. And it's also okay to say to somebody, I feel really angry about that. So take a look at how you are working with your anger. Are you allowing it to have space? The other thing I would say to you is most times, with very few exceptions, when people move their anger out, by the way, you may need to scream, you may need to curse, you may need to stamp your feet, you may need to do something physical so that you can move some of that energy. What you will likely find underneath it is a well of grief that you've not accessed, that the anger protects you from feeling. I say that to you as a psychotherapist, and also what I've discovered many, many times is this perceived feeling of loss, of abandonment, of hurt, and that needs to be acknowledged and felt. You don't have to get into the story. If you need to do some crying or do some further work with that, allow yourself to do that. Sometimes the pure recognition of what's really true underneath is enough for it to be released. Mm-hmm. So I would say, and I hope that some of the suggestions that I've given you are helpful, and it's a process of, rather than trying to get rid of it, is try to love it. Love it for what it's showing you about yourself, because everything that is about you, that you can't be against anything in yourself, or you will stand in separation from yourself and your connection to the divine. So love it for the inflammation and for the message that it has for you. The more that you can do that, the more that you will also find that you will be less reactive and triggered and be more gentle with yourself, and it won't come out in unhealthy ways. And if it does, because we are messy humans, forgive yourself, because in that moment before that explosion, that was the best you that you could be. And that's okay.
Yeah. Beautiful. Thank you. And, you know, I just wanted to share really quickly, since we're talking about anger, a saying came back to me just now that one of my teachers gave me a long time ago, I think 30 years ago, and I'm hoping I translate it properly into English. But the reason for anger is fear. And what is fear? Fear is separation. So the opposite of fear is love, according to some people, and I believe that too. When there's fear, there's separation. There's that divide between you and spirit, between you and love. And so, you know, I always have this saying that comes into my head. It's in Hindi for me. It always comes into my head in Hindi. But it always reminds me that when you're feeling angry, what are you afraid of? Where's this fear coming from? In lack of trust, lack of faith, lack of love, lack of presence, lack of that connection with spirit, right? You're back in your head. So hopefully that helps too, because, you know, anger is okay. Just don't stay in it for too long. But a lot of times it's justified. It's valid. Feel it. Express it in a healthy way, whatever way that works for you. But always remember, it's showing you something. It's showing you something that's not right with your world. That you're not right with something. That you're not okay with something in your world. Okay? Hopefully that makes sense. I didn't know we were going to talk about all this stuff either.
Well, you know, I also want to acknowledge you. Having done the first call with you in 2013, you have come a long way.
Yes. And, you know, when we were talking about the stuff here today, I was going back and thinking about some of my traumas, and it's like, oh yeah, there's no, and I had a hard time remembering them. It's like, but there's no charge, you know, there's no this. I mean, I've done so much work, so much healing work for some of my stuff that like those traumas, there was no charge, you know. It's like, oh yes, I did it, you know. But I know for some of you, you're like, I don't want to hear that, you know, Laura, that's like, blah, blah, blah. Like, why are you telling me that? I'm still going through this stuff. I know, but you know what? I'm 51. I'm older than you, or maybe 52. I'm older than you. I went through some really, 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 really crappy stuff. It took me a long time, you know, and did a lot of work. And I'm just so, you know, just being able to say now and acknowledge that, yeah, you know, there's no charge. There's no charge. There's no charge. It's like, hallelujah, you know. So I'm just grateful. I just want to share that that's also possible for all of you too, you know. So
and of course, you know, I want to add something to that, is that the things that Alara and I have gone through for many years, I don't believe that what people are experiencing now have to go on for as long as it was for us. So if you're listening to this and thinking, oh my God, do I have to do this for the next 3 decades? I may not be alive. The answer is no.
No, I was stubborn. No. Okay, obviously.
Well, you know, we were working in the way that we were working. I mean, that's just where the energies were. It's where we were. It's where things were moving. Yeah. Now, because of the united work that so many of us have done, that everybody benefits from, that we are not going to be spiraling and dwelling in these places unless you fight. And if you do, please forgive yourself for that, because that's that old knee-jerk battle energy and fear coming up. And there will be times when it's going to be really, really uncomfortable, because it's not where you want to be. But if you can come back, I mean, there's so much that both Laura and I, as I'm listening to things that she's saying, they're wonderful reminders that if it's happening for you, it's happening for you. You're not being punished. It doesn't mean you've done something wrong. It doesn't mean that you're a screw up. It doesn't mean any of that. Those are the stories that we tell ourselves when things are difficult. What if you said to yourself, wow, I must really want to break through something for it to be this intense.
Exactly.
And trusting, if you can. And again, we talk about getting help, because sometimes we're so close to our stuff, we don't know how to get out of the way. And if you don't have any experience, why would you know how to walk through that? This is why we're here for you. And so you can have these kinds of breakthroughs much faster if you don't go into a battle position. It's not about fighting your way through anything. It's about learning how to rest into it. And also realizing, if it's that intense, just imagine what's on the other side that you are wanting so bad is of equal intensity. And if it's really, really wild, you got something pretty cool coming your way.
Exactly. I'm just in tears, because it's so true. Every time I've been through hell, on the other side of it, it was,
I know,
you know, right? so much bliss and that connection with spirit. And, you know, it's like, I would do it again. And I said, I've said this again. I've said this before.
Yeah.
I would do it again and again and again, just to have that connection, just to have that bliss, just to have that presence. I would do it again in a heartbeat, if that's what it took. But it doesn't have to be that way anymore. Now I just have to go still and go in my heart, and I'm there. But at the time, these are not lessons either, but they're just experiences that we've had. And a lot of it is just to really show us the depth of our passion, the depth of our understanding of spirit, and understanding of who we are. So
and our capacity.
And our capacity to love, mostly us. Yeah. You have a great capacity to love. So, you know, just remember this, you know, all this time we're talking about, this is about loving you, and that spirit loves you. And you know, I'm just so grateful. No, Melissa, you're not a screw up.
No. This is the place that we automatically go to when we're you know, when things are going well, it's the la, 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 la. And when we decide that things are going bad, we've already put a label on it. And we want to get back to that kumbaya feeling again. And that's, you know, I have more and more of those peaceful moments. And when those other moments come up and I move to the other side, and many times I get a sense of what it was about. And I'm in a place of tears of such gratitude and such humility and such joy for the commitment that I have made to my journey and the commitment that I have made to humanity. And at the time I made the commitment, I can tell you, I did not know what the heck I was committing to. I remember saying, this is the path I will only walk. I will never live in darkness again, when I had my first spiritual earthquake. But I never meant that I was going to be doing this. That's not what I was thinking at the time. So it's been an unfolding that has been shocking and also very, very intense at many times where, and I want to also mention something that I don't know that gets talked about, but I feel it's important to bring it up. There are times, you know, you and I, Alara, we're out front and we're talking and we're hopefully impacting on people in positive ways. And if it's a negative, a perceived negative, you're welcome, because we're here serving you with that as well. And so I just lost my train of thought. So just give me a second. Help me.
Take your time. So in the meantime, I'm going to say thank you so much, Annette. That means so much to me. She says, I've been listening to your shows for 5 years, and I realize how much I've changed for the better all these years with you when you share your story. And, you know, thank you, because at the beginning, I wasn't sharing my story, right? Because I was told, don't talk, just be the host. Let the guest do all the talking. You're there to promote them, you know, it's not about you. Don't share. And then slowly I started sharing a little bit, you know, but so thank you. I appreciate that. And even when I do share, it's not for me per se, it's for you, to help you in some way. That you'll get something from something I say, you know?
So I appreciate everything you just said in the hopes that I might recall what I was going to say. So I'm going to say, I know this rarely happens. So my interpretation is, I guess it wasn't that important. I don't know. Or maybe it'll, yeah, I was just going to say, and you know, when this happens, I always say to people, don't reach for it, because this is you looking, just let it come.
Well, I was going to say too, Lorraine, that, you know, we were talking about, you know, the ups and downs of healing, and there's also these ups and downs of feeling great and then not great. And yes. People who are in our industry, they don't always talk about that when they're not doing great. You know, they only show the positive, you know, personas and blah, blah, blah. Sorry, go ahead. You got it, eh?
I got it. As soon as you said that, I got it. Okay. Yeah. So, all right. In all of the years that I have been on this planet, up until I would say maybe 10 years ago, the idea of exiting suicide never came into my mind. I would have conversations with my clients when I was just doing psychotherapy, and I came to understand what that really meant, that there was a difference between actually having a plan and it giving you the peace of mind of knowing that if things got really bad, you had an exit, even if you never took that step. And about 10 years ago, when I'm guessing it was 10 years, I'm not really sure, who knows time anymore. I found myself having thoughts of, I don't know if I want to be here anymore. And there are exit points in our lives when we can leave. We don't always know when they are, but there are, I think, about 3 exit points. Maybe I was at it at that time, I don't know. And in my close relationships, a lot of my friends at that time were also going through some difficult times, and we talked about, maybe I've done enough and maybe it's time to go. And I found myself, over the years, I've revisited it a few times. I don't feel any shame about it. And I also realize, I mean, I haven't heard a lot of speakers. I don't know if anybody mentions that if that thought has ever crossed your mind, I want you to know it's not strange. And it doesn't necessarily mean that you're suicidal. I think there are times when we feel so stretched to our limits, when we feel so exhausted, which may be a perfect surrender time to let go and stop fighting when you think you haven't. And to give yourself permission to think about leaving, when I realized I had to make dying okay so that I could commit to living. And that was very profound to me. So every once in a while, when I get into a grumpy place and I feel tired, sometimes it will come up and I ask myself, have I completed, or is there still something more? And I don't feel that it's time for me to pass yet. So just know that that's part of the ups and downs of health and healing. And it doesn't mean that you're a bad person or you're weak or anything. It's part of being human that sometimes we have to think about leaving in order to give ourselves permission to stay. And if you feel also really strongly, it may be that you're preparing for a transition. I don't know. And a transition, interestingly enough, doesn't necessarily mean a physical death. It can be the death of anything that you have completed that may translate in terms of leaving. It could be a relationship. It could be an old karmic pattern. So just some things to think about.
Well, I was going through this last year. So I had one of those exit points last year in May, right? And I didn't talk about it until I think November or December of last year. I didn't, and then I did talk about it on one of my calls. I don't know which call it was, but I talked about it because it's real. It happens, and I was in a really dark space and in a really dark place.
Yeah.
But I also at the So, anyways, I'm not going to go into it now because I've already. But since then, I have committed to staying, and especially since January of this year, the energies are for me have been totally different, totally, much more not intense per se, but the momentum is moving forward, right? And so it's more of a, since I decided to stay, I didn't have a choice. Basically, Spirit says like, okay, you're going to stay because we're not taking you. Like, okay.
Yeah, right. I know that one.
I was like, okay. But so since then, though, everything is changing and I'm changing. And like, look, on my way here, it's like a lot of things are different about me now since I, said, okay, all right, fine. Right. But I have had, at least 2, maybe 3 of those moments in my life. I mean, like I said, I may look like, I have a really good life, an amazing life, and I do, but it wasn't always this way, So
That's true. Yeah. Well, I just read something from Eagle Song Woman, and apparently I did a session with you.
Yeah, last year, I think.
Oh, well, oh, cool. Yay. Oh, I'm so glad. I love, I don't always get feedback from people. I love that. And I want to make one comment. Well, first I want to say that was exquisite what you just said. And yes, being human can be very hard. And guess what? I have come to realize that it's very hard because I fight. And it's not so hard when I don't fight. So instead of maybe anchoring too much into, I mean, even pay attention to your language. What are you programming that is creating your reality? I know that when I say this feels so hard, you better believe that it gets hard because that's what I called it to be.
Mm-hmm.
And that doesn't mean that it doesn't feel that way or that it feels challenging. But I know that the more that I push against something, the more it doesn't move and get stronger. So that's, what is that, inertia or something like that? It is as hard as you make it, and as hard as you allow it to be.
Yeah.
That's how much power we have, because we can look at any situation and we can change our perspective, we can change our experience at any time. When that doesn't happen, that is one of the ways that we tap into feeling victimized by ourselves or victimized by life. And to me, that is a choice. I also realize that sometimes people don't know how to move through that kind of a reaction or that identity. Good news is we learn how to do that. And how else do you develop any mastery unless you get a lot of practice?
I've had a lot of practice. I'm a master. And I always say this on all these calls because I really want people to hear this, that if you are having those kinds of thoughts, it's okay. But if you want to reach out, I'm always here to help in any way that I can. You know, so I never want you to feel like you're alone, right? Because you're not. I felt alone. I did not feel like I could I did turn to some people, but I still, you know, some people I couldn't, you know, like I couldn't go to my mom because she would be devastated. I couldn't go to my best friend. She would be devastated. You know, I couldn't really tell my husband because he would be devastated, right? Like sometimes you feel like there's nobody I can talk to, you know? So but I did have some healing sessions and things like that with some of my mentors and teachers and, you know, all that wonderful stuff. So I did reach out. I did have that one-on-one support. And, you know, and then after all that, then I surrendered. I screamed at God and I was like, just tell me, you know, or whatever I did. And I got quiet and I cried and, you know, I did all that stuff. And I just like, I'm so tired, you know, so whatever it happens to be. Right. And then I surrendered, and then I got a message like a week or two later, and then everything changed.
Yeah.
You know, everything changed. But sometimes we have to get to that point for ourselves. And that might just be a belief so that we will.
No, it isn't. It's absolutely true.
Yeah. So that we will, I know, so that we will get back to us, you know, and connect back to spirit or something. There's some, for me anyway, that's how it is for me. So it's just, it's a pattern again, you know, I have to get to that point, you know, where I'm like, give in, you know, because, you know, remember Lorraine used to always use the word surrender. It's like, I hate that word.
Well, you know, you are
I get it now.
You're not preaching to the choir on the fact of being a little bit resistant.
Yeah.
One of my closest friends would smile at me and she would say, God bless you. Look at what you had to do to become a puddle on the floor, to exhaust yourself to such an extent that you would finally surrender and allow what's next to come through. And I would, of course, say to her, after I cursed at her,
yes.
And she would laugh. And of course, I realize that there are times when I can still get caught in that pattern. I do it so much less because I have learned along the way to recognize some of the indicators before I have to become, before I knock myself to my knees.
Yeah, exactly. So
be it.
You know, take our experience, learn from it, people, so that you don't have to go through it yourselves. But if that's what you need, if that's what you require, then know that there's support here for you, okay?
Yes. And also know that this isn't something, I am just getting tongue-tied here, that this is not a punishment of some kind, whatever it is that you're dealing with, is that this is a huge opportunity for you to transform and transmute something that is wanted for you, that you want, and is the next step for you to get to the step after that. You have to be willing to go the distance and not quit 5 minutes before the miracle.
Yeah, wow, so intense, so intense.
Oh my God, you and I have been talking for 90 minutes, for almost 90 minutes. Okay, so by the way, we can get to talking for like 90 minutes and sometimes 2 hours, and I feel as if we've just barely started talking.
Yeah, exactly. So let's just take a moment to breathe, everybody. Let's just take a moment. We're just going to quickly take a moment and talk about Lorraine's special offer, and then we're going to come back in a second. So if you're on the live page, you can just go to, just click on special offer. If you're not, you can go to alara.at/show/Lorraine, LORRAINE. And I'm just going to open it up. So this is a special offer that she's created just for us, because like Lorraine said, she's not really doing any telesummit shows and things like that. So she just created this just for us. Yay. Oh my goodness. All right, Lorraine, you want to talk about it?
I do. Actually, if you've been on calls before and seen some of my special offers, they've had a lot of pieces to it. And this time I really sat down and asked myself, what do I feel would offer people the greatest amount of value that would also support our conversation today? And I've talked about the importance of self-love, and one of the things I did not say is that I think this not feeling good enough is one of the greatest wounds that we suffer as humanity. It also keeps us in an ongoing energetic pattern of scarcity. So I have put together in this particular package, only 3 things, but 3 of what I think are the most potent things to support you, is a recording with a process, a workbook, and a second healing meditation from one of my most attended seminars, is Healing the Not Good Enough Wound. And I've given you the whole package. I sell it on my site, but I can tell you with all of these things combined, you'll be paying a lot more. I also gave you access, a free pass to my next full moon healing transmission. This is something new that I've started that Alara was telling you about. And what's really powerful about that is that I have programmed the vibrations and the transmission to stay embedded in that particular recording so that you can access it for 30 full days. Each time you connect with the transmission, you will supercharge your intention, and it is designed to support that moment in time, that energy of the month. And so people are having incredible breakthroughs. I also, and I have never done this before, have given you a 50% coupon off of a private one-to-one session with me. I always do 20% if I ever do anything. And so now you get 50% off to have a session with me if you take advantage. Well, actually, it's good for 30 days, because I don't want you to sit with that idea. If you've been excited about what we've talked about today and would love to have a session with me, I want to work with you as soon as you want to work with me. I've kept it really low at only $111. I don't think I've ever done a special, or at least not in a while, for that. And it's had a lot more things that I think would be less supportive and really helping you to tear down, transform, and transmute whatever is happening now, and to really help you move forward. So I'm excited about this package. I gave it a lot of thought, and you can't get this anywhere except right here on this show.
Awesome. Wow. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
That's in US funds. Yes, that's in US funds. Yes. That's in US dollars.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. And that comes from Lorraine's site. Or yes, definitely. My site is also US dollars, but yes. Well, that's awesome, Lorraine. Thank you.
You are very, very welcome. I mean, I'm just watching some of the things that are happening with people, and I'm blown away. The energies that I'm working with have gotten so much more pumped up, and I just started work. This is so funny. I actually got this particular instrument. It's an ionic wand several years ago. Mm-hmm. It also works with EMF, and it works with a lot of different things, but a lot more than I realized. That I've been guided to pull out. Sat in a drawer, for 6 years. I bought it. I looked at it. I said, I don't even know why I got it. And now I'm beginning to understand why I got it, because of what an amplifier it is to the energy that has already been amplified. Mm-hmm. And of course, before we end, I'm going to invite people to have a 1 or 2 minute transmission. I know that's something that you like, and we usually just end there and let people rest. So.
Yeah, absolutely. So does anybody have any other questions, burning questions, or is there anything else that we have on the thing that we want to talk about on the live page that we wanted to definitely talk about? Just looking into it.
Well, I would just love to put out, and there's been some great comments about what has really landed with people. I would just invite you to take a moment. I always like to get some feedback. I don't always get feedback. And for any of you who have also been listening in the background, if something really could chunk for you, if you felt the shift of any kind, what's your takeaway or takeaways from our conversation today, in addition to some of the comments? Because, I'm sure you value hearing what people's experiences are as well, Alara, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yes, absolutely do.
And I also want to thank you for hanging in. You're probably used to the fact that Alara's show tend to run about 90 minutes, sometimes longer. And I appreciate those of you who have showed up to take your valuable time to be with us. I want to make one comment to Ricky. I don't want you to think that we skipped over you. What would a hip and lower back pain be connected to? I can give you some immediate information that connects. I always look at the spiritual meaning of specific ailments. That can lead to a lot of clues. So lower back pain is not unusual. Guys, back off. Talking to my team, I just feel them just kind of pressing into me a bit. Often relates to fear about money and not feeling supported by life. In terms of hips, these lower parts of your body all have to do with how you stand. It could be with standing up for yourself. It could be about moving forward, being in some resistance. Maybe you need to see a chiropractor, I don't know. But I would really invite you, if you are connected with your body, is to go in and even have a little bit of a conversation to ask what your hip and lower back is trying to tell you. You might even take pen to a paper and just do a stream of consciousness and see what comes up. So those are just some immediate thoughts that come to mind. And I would also Google it and see what might be going on. If this is something that is chronic, then aside from something medically, this could be a way in which to get your attention, especially if you like feeling good in your body and you're not really being good to your body. Your body may be saying, I need more rest. Maybe you need to change your posture. So those, again, just some additional thoughts that are coming to my mind.
Awesome. I think Brenda wanted to say something. Brenda, were you going to unmute yourself and say something?
Hi, Brenda.
Hi. Actually, I didn't mean to say, but I was thinking I wanted to say something. You had two things that you were referring to. One with the healing and stuff, and I have a family member that I'm actually going to share some of your words with, and then I have another family member who is a very emotional one through we call it her emotional drama, and she tends to bring it all the time, and it's very, very, very difficult. So I'm going to share some stuff and put some questions out for her, along with some of my energy to help soothe her through that. So thank you so much. It's been very enlightening. I appreciate it.
You're so welcome, and I can see that some of what we talked about really connected with your heart. The other thing is that it's really important to not make drama bad. Drama is an indicator that there's something that we are having difficulty with, and sometimes the only way that we have learned to manage it, like a child throwing a tantrum. And yes, it's not only exhausting for the people listening, imagine how exhausting it is for the person going through it.
Right.
And so there are ways to begin to navigate that so that we can look at what it is that the drama is about. A lot of times it has to do with feeling helpless or something happening that we feel a loss of control. We start getting back to fear. So sometimes I will say, I might say to somebody.
Yeah, sorry, I think that's where it's coming from. It's her loss with a few things, and she doesn't have any control. Yeah. Exactly.
So it sounds like she's got some grieving to do, and to encourage her to let that be okay, and to normalize that what she's experiencing right now is really on the mark. And sometimes the best thing that we can do is just say, I'm here for you. You're not alone in this. Everything that you're experiencing is very, very normal. And to give yourself permission to really honor the losses that you have right now. There are times when people really back off from that. And I have said, you will not cry indefinitely because your ducts will dry up. That I'm going to tell you. And when there is that kind of grief with those losses, that is an indication of how deeply we can love. And so that's something you can also honor with her as well. And thank you so much for bringing that up and for being here to be able to have some takeaways that you can share with her, and hopefully they will be helpful for her. And again, encourage her to get some support with that if she feels that she needs more. It's not for you to fix it or make it okay for her. And it's also okay for you to set some boundaries when you need to step back. Don't think that you need to handle it all, you need to absorb it all. It's okay to let yourself say, this is all I can handle right now, in a loving and gentle way, and set a boundary and move away. Hopefully you're not the only one in her life. Otherwise, she needs more people.
Awesome. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Caroline says, my takeaway is that I'm normal with having wild emotions. Yes.
Yes, you are. You're very welcome, Ricky.
And Ricky says, wonderful, yes. Thank you. Nicole says, and you can heal your life, Louise. Hey, lower back pain is related to lack of financial support, and hips are fears of going forward with major decisions or having nothing to move forward to.
Yeah. Yeah. That's why I always like to check. And also, one of the things that has come up in the past is to look at, we become very comfortable with certain patterns and certain ways of feeling, because it lets us off the hook from having to take some responsibilities, make mistakes, fall down, have failures, and it can become a comfort zone. So I always encourage people to take a peek in there. One of the questions that has come up when I've talked about this in programs is, who would I be without that ailment? Who would I be without that story? Who would I be without that difficulty? Because one of the things that also connects us are our difficulties, our stories. I found my people. And we can hang out there, because when things start to shift, it can feel as if we're moving away from that comfort zone and we don't know what we're stepping into. And we don't always trust we have difficulty trusting what we can't see. So while it may seem like it's a comfort zone, it becomes a very tight box.
Awesome. Thank you. All right, cool. So we're going to do the transmission.
Well, I have to.
Yes.
And
your guides were already there anyways, nudging you, weren't they?
Well, they just get excited, you know what that's like. Oh, good, we get to play more. Mm-hmm. And I do have my ionic wand with me. I was guided to pull that out. I guess I'm just going to be using that in everything. And so what this is also doing is I'm clearing everybody's energy fields of any energetic debris, any possible attachments, lower thought forms, anything that's going on, as well as balancing everybody's chakras. I'm actually using the wand in a swirl, and I'm just moving down everybody's chakras and just clearing that. That's something that I feel guided to do before I do any transmissions, is so that we can all be in more sacred space. So this will be embedded in the recording as well, as will the transmission. So I can already feel the energy is starting to move through. You can have an intention or not. Your intention can just be to receive whatever serves and supports you in the highest way right now. And just know that every time you listen to this particular replay, that the transmission, see, she's already releasing. The transmission is, and will remain at the vibration I send it. All right, so I'm going to be silent while the transmission is here. Please don't be multitasking if possible. It's really best if you're still. And please don't be driving it. Well, you know, I'm going to set the condition that if you're driving, that you receive this at the perfect time when you're not in any kind of movement, because it affects everybody differently, and I want you to be safe. And there's Laura releasing again, and I haven't even totally opened the gateway, but she's already tapping in because she does that with me. All right, so I'm going to be quiet now. Okay, when the transmission is complete, I will, I'll let you know. Just breathe and rest into whatever you experience. Just know you're receiving it even if you don't sense it. It's not looking to receive just yet. So I can just stay with it. Okay, it's slowing down a little bit. Good releases, Alara. Really good. I'm hearing yawning. I'm just going to let it keep streaming to everybody. I invite you all to just be open to receive. There's nothing you need to do with it. My website is lorrainecohen.com. Feel free to share your experiences and feedback with me. I'd love to hear. Not slowing down. Still coming. This hasn't happened before. Just drink it in, honey. Look like you're ready to take a nap.
And I'm sweating now too.
Good.
There's so much heat, so much yawning. You guys may not see me yawning, but yawning like crazy and heat, and that's like sweating.
Yep.
Lots of energy moving.
Yeah. It's still streaming. So my sense is that obviously if it's still streaming, it's still needing to stream. It's 4:44. At my end, it's 4:44. Really funny. So I'm thinking that this is what's needed right now because that's what's happening.
Yep. I get a fan. And my intention was just for the highest and best for everybody.
Yeah.
I didn't ask for anything else. That was it.
Yeah. Beautiful. Yeah, wonderful. So, Ricky, with the energy soaring through your solar plexus, hold the intention that it's also supporting your lower back and your hip in whatever way is most positive, and be open to any messages you may get. Beautiful. Still coming.
Still receiving.
I usually transmit for only 1 or 2 minutes, so something else is going on.
Oh, we
like
had quite the intense conversation, right?
Yeah, yeah. This is helping everybody. Yeah. This is starting to move in the direction of a regular session with me.
So just everybody just continue to receive the best you can, to have the intention of receiving, not with a specific agenda, just receive. Or if you want an agenda, you can, whatever works.
Yeah. This is coming directly from God's heart, is what I was told. It's coming directly from God's heart. Because you are so deeply and dearly loved beyond any comprehension you can imagine. So if you're enjoying this, you can have more of it from the special offer.
Absolutely.
It's in there. I'm actually going to let this be enough for now.
Yeah. Thank you. That was awesome. Right, guys?
And I think also, and I'm curious, that having experienced the transmissions before, that this has a different feel to it.
Yes, definitely more powerful.
Very different. Yeah.
Absolutely. So for some of you, if you're Melissa, Nicole, Eagle Song Woman, how was that for you? Melissa says, grand tears of gratitude.
Beautiful. Thank you.
I know Caroline will write something in a second. Yeah, it's like that was quite intense. I mean, you guys couldn't see me probably yawning at the beginning, but it was like nonstop.
Yeah.
And then the heat and sweating. But yeah, yawn, lots of violet and a little green being flowed through the green.
Cool.
Awesome.
Yeah, the yawning, if you don't know, are releases.
Yeah.
And energy swirling through my throat and head. It's going exactly where it needs to go.
Nicole says, powerful, still feeling it, much gratitude.
Yeah.
Yawning, yes. Yeah.
Still coming. Yeah. Enjoy.
Exactly. And just continue to receive for as long, big yawn at the end. Yeah, I don't think there's an end yet. So just relax and be into it. Just relax and be into it.
Well, I will tell you that at my end, I do feel it receding, but that doesn't mean that it's not continuing to stream to everyone.
Yeah.
And so enjoy it, and please remember that whenever you're receiving any kind of transmissions, just as a reminder, stuff can come up. Some physical stuff can come up as a result of that. That can happen in a variety of different ways. So just keep in mind, oh yeah, I was on a call yesterday and I received a healing transmission. And rather than to be concerned, and you may have some emotions that come up, you might have some anger, some grief. This is releases. It's all good. And just take from what we talked, listen to the recording again, just to remind yourself of some of the things that we talked about, that this is a good thing. This is your body clearing in its brilliant way of knowing what to do, and to help you to recognize something that you may need to work with.
Exactly. Melissa says tingling on my head. Nicole says clicking in throat. That happens a lot when I channel.
Yep.
Yeah, awesome. My throat is being, a little something-ish too.
Yep.
It's all good.
Yep, it's all good.
And please do take a look at the special offer of Lorraine's at alara.at/show/Lorraine. It'll also be in the email and on the replay page shortly, later today. All right, so wow. Thank you so much, Lorraine. That was awesome. Yeah, maybe you're going to have to come back to talk about the ups and downs of health and healing.
A bit more.
I'm
open to that. I'm
Phase
definitely
2.
open to talking about it. Yeah.
Part 2.
Right.
Awesome. Thank you. And thank you so much, everyone, for being here with us, for sharing with us, being vulnerable. And like I did say, this is a safe space. So you know that it is safe for you to be vulnerable, to share, to express yourself. So thank you. And be open to letting go. Be open to letting go and be open to seeing that everything that is happening to you is actually for you from a place of love. Okay? You are loved. You are loved beyond measure. We love you. Right? Spirit loves you. Creator, God, universe, whatever word you want to use, loves you. And how about you loving you? Okay? So you love you. All right, any other last words of wisdom?
A quote came to mind, Alara, and also I want to acknowledge you for the way in which this entire call has gone, and everything that you contributed. There's so much brilliance that you added that I think made this an even juicier call. I think maybe our juiciest call yet. So here is the quote that I would like to leave you with, and that is, I'm trying to remember where the quote came from, but when we come to the edge of all the light there is, and must step into the darkness of the unknown, we will find one of two things. Either we will be, oh crap. I just forgot it. Wait.
I was just thinking, oh, this is such a beautiful quote. I love it already.
Wait, I have to get it. When we come to the edge of all the light there is, and must step into the darkness of the unknown, we must believe one of two things. Either we will find something firm to stand on, or we will be taught to fly. I had to close my eyes to get it.
I love it. So either we will step on something.
That's right. It's Patrick Overton. That's right.
Yeah. Something exactly strong right. Or firm to land on, or we will learn to fly. Either or.
Be taught to fly. Yes.
Either or. It's all good, right?
Yeah.
I was going to add a third thing to myself. What? I was going to say something about once you step into the unknown, into the darkness, step into into the embrace, to be, loved and surrounded and safety. I don't know how you would say that, but for me, that's what it felt like.
Nice. Be willing to be brave.
Yeah.
And if you haven't had a chance and you have Netflix,
I just watched it. I just finished it today.
Brene Brown, A Call to Courage.
A Call to Courage. It's very good. I just watched it.
Gorgeous.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's like an hour and 15 minutes or something like that.
I wanted more.
Good.
I wanted more. She's so brilliant. Yes.
Yeah, it was really good. I really liked it. So, yeah.
So much love to you all. Thank you for being with me and us the entire time.
Thank you, everyone. And until next time, may you continue to be blessed with an abundance of joy, peace, love, happiness, prosperity, and radiant health. Sending you all much love and blessings always. Bye for now.
Bye-bye.